Federal Reserve just printed about $300 billion, increasing the supply of the US dollar by about 3.56%. This is the first time that the Fed has printed money since April of 2022, the point of which the bear market began and kind of everything went wrong in crypto. But at this point in time, we're seeing signs now that this amazing period of time is starting to return. And of course, what does that mean for the price of Bitcoin? Well, so far, Bitcoin doesn't seem to have realized this news. Bitcoin's price has been trending downwards today. Now, I suspect this is a lot to do with, in the short term, because I've been watching all day today, what is going on with the DXY. Because in the short term, the DXY has been rising in price, not so significantly, just a short-term relief rally is what we're seeing currently on the value of the DXY. And that ultimately is why I believe the price of Bitcoin has been in decline. Because if you put these two charts completely inverse to each other, you'll see that Bitcoin is completely trading the opposite of whatever the US dollar is doing in terms of its value. It's just weird that they've increased the supply of it. I mean, I would expect now, because they've increased the supply of the US dollar by 3.56%, there's not going to be an increase in demand for US dollars by 3.56%. They've only done this so they can bail out some of these banks. So you would expect a 3.56 decline in the value of the US dollar over the course of the next couple of weeks. These things aren't instant. They do take time to kick in. So, of course, what is currently going on with the price of Bitcoin? Well, a few different things are happening to the price of Bitcoin. Of course, Bitcoin's price right now is coming down just a little bit. It could be heading towards the bottom of the VWAP zones around $27,200. Either way, I think that anywhere in this zone, from my perspective this week, should be a pretty good buy throughout the course of this week, depending on how much leverage and whatnot you're using. You need to be careful in this market, of course, because things are quite volatile. If you're looking at these hourly candle swings here, you're seeing it go up by 4.62%. And then if we measure the downtrend, so 4.62% up in 5 hours, and then over the preceding 7 hours, a drop of 3.11%. So it's important to point out that using high leverage in these markets is highly risky. I also want to point out, I made a mistake earlier today. Quite a severe mistake that resulted in me losing about $2,000 in a very, very short period of time because I accidentally leveraged my entire account. I switched the numbers over and I put the wrong thing in the wrong account basically. And then I opened a position and I used my entire account as leverage and I bought $10 million worth of Bitcoin. That was a mistake. I have since sold that Bitcoin. I actually pumped the price of Bitcoin when I did that. And it cost me about $2,000 to send it up and then send it back down again. So just be careful when you're trading in this market. I got my numbers mixed up earlier today and it can happen to anybody. Just be careful when you are placing a trade. Don't be half asleep. Anyway, currently the price of Bitcoin, of course, trading sideways. But what is happening to the value of bank stocks so far today? Well, it's been a bit surprising. The Bank of America, although it had this severe drop down over the past couple of days, currently, because of where it started today, because it started the day so low, if you look at the hourly chart, even though it's trending downwards, technically it's up 0.07%. I expect Bank of America stock is going to continue its decline. Wells Fargo stock throughout the course of today, this is Wells Fargo stock price, that is down. Barclays today is down 2%. Again, a big drop down first thing this morning since a rally back to the upside, but again, I'd expect a further drop throughout the course of this week. Credit Suisse stock, this is a bad one, is this one. Credit Suisse stock, as and when it loads, if it wants to load, there we go, it's down 50% today. That is because when the shares were sold to UBS, bearing in mind, like UBS stock, yes, it's up 2.86% today's UBS stock. Bear in mind, they've just acquired a $300 billion bank, that their stock is up 2%. This is a sign things are going to go badly. It's going to happen. It's inevitable. It's a matter of time until all of these economic factors kick in and things start looking pretty gosh darn rough. Today I've been looking at some other things because apparently, according to some of my research team, it looks like Deutsche Bank is going to be the next bank that goes bankrupt. It's probably not going to be UBS first, although I've been analysing UBS. UBS is looking like it's on edge, but Deutsche Bank is looking even worse than what UBS is looking, which is saying something because UBS is looking absolutely horrific right now. What is going to happen to the price of Bitcoin during this period of time? Well, expect some volatility. Some people will panic sell because they go, oh my God, big financial crash. Other people will withdraw from the banks and they'll panic buy Bitcoin. Bearing in mind, bank withdrawals take 24 hours. It's tomorrow that we're looking for, and especially Wednesday, to be honest. Wednesday is going to get absolutely crazy in the crypto space because of what is going on with the Federal Reserve on Wednesday. Don't forget, on Wednesday, that is the day of which we find out what the rate hike is going to be. If there is a 0% rate hike, which it looks like there will be, because, again, going back to the point of how much money the Fed is printing, the Fed has increased their monetary supply by approximately $300 billion today. As they've printed $300 billion, you would expect that they can't raise interest rates while printing money. The two go directly against each other. Let me explain why. Because essentially, when you raise interest rates, that means that the price of everybody's mortgage goes up. Now, the reason they're printing money is because there is deficits in banks due to defaults on loan payments and also an increasing amount of withdrawals due to a loss of banking confidence. So if the Fed is to raise rates, it'll put mortgage prices up again on variable rate mortgages, which will cause more defaults on loans, which will mean the Fed has to print more money. The Fed doesn't want to be printing money like crazy. The Fed doesn't ever really want to increase monetary supply unless it's just to help the economy grow. This is to stop the economy from collapsing. So it's highly unlikely that the Fed actually raise rates at all on Wednesday. It's likely we see a 0% thing. But at the same time, understand that on that phone call, conference, it's like a phone call, isn't it? On that call, it's likely that Jerome Powell is going to come across so negative. And the reason why Jerome Powell will come across so negative on that is because he's going to go, big financial crash coming, everything looks terrible. We had to print $300 billion to bail out these banks, and we've probably got to print more because everybody seems to have completely mismanaged their finances because we had some significant deregulation over the course of the past 10 years since the previous financial crash. Don't forget, after the previous financial crash, there was some strict regulation put in place that restricted how much money banks could lend to people and how irresponsible they could be with lending. That regulation was slowly removed by the previous couple of administrations in the US and in the UK, which has meant that basically banks have overspent, they've overloaned, and currently they're not fully collateralized. So if you go to your bank right now, or rather, if everyone goes to the bank right now and tries to withdraw their cash, you'll find you can't get it if everybody did it. And so you should really withdraw from a bank. I currently, again, I'm only keeping 30 grand in the bank, and that's just pay my employees that get paid in cash, not crypto. So just be careful dealing with banks right now. But in the short term, what is going to happen to the price of Bitcoin? Well, of course, Bitcoin is meandering around in these ranges, but I want to look at a slightly higher time frame on the price of Bitcoin, such as the daily chart right now, because of course, Bitcoin on the daily is looking fantastic in terms of it just keeps on going up. But what are we looking at? Well, we've got a pretty key resistance level, to be honest, if we zoom out on this chart. Apologies, the computer's running a little bit slow today, but that's not really a change from usual, is it? It's always running slow. Either way, we've got a resistance level here. I mean, this resistance level is not really plotted 100% correct. If I just bring that level down, bam, there we go. We got rejected off of this resistance level, sat around $28,300. If we break $28,300, we break back into the next range. And that's because when the volume profile loads at the side of the screen here, you'll see that we have another level of liquidity in this range right here that we should break into, which would be approximately $30,000. Now, I don't really expect Bitcoin's price to break through $30,000 first time round, but it depends on what the Fed says. If the Fed comes out and says, you know what, guys, things look rough, you should buy Bitcoin, you'll see Bitcoin's price going up very significantly. Of course, they're not going to say that. But if they say, look, we're going to have to print lots of money, the market's going to react very, very favorably. You'll see stocks pumping like crazy. But overall, the markets are looking incredibly volatile right now. So just bear in mind, Fed's printing cash. That's pretty big. UBS is looking like it's on edge right now. The entire cryptocurrency market is looking kind of on edge right now. Everything is looking either it's going to pump really hard or it's going to drop really hard in price. So don't over leverage yourself. Be careful out there on the markets. And more importantly than anything else, slap a like on today's video. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Turn on those channel notifications and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.